So let me get this started.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is our mobility and flexibility class. Quick intro to this class. We will be doing lots of stretching. If you have your camera on, great, because that allows me to correct any form that you're doing correctly or incorrectly. I could adjust that. If your camera is off, then unfortunately I can't see what you're doing, so I can't make any corrections. But don't feel obligated to have your camera on if you're uncomfortable with it or if just your space doesn't allow it. But other than that, I'm Julio. You could call me Julio or Coach Julio or instructor. But other than that, I think most of you saw my video, hopefully, about the class. If you can make the live session always, then you have nothing to worry about. Good morning, Etsy, Michelle, Mindy, and Sally just came in. Hello. But yeah, if you can make it live, we'll be here at 11:30 to 12:45. The recordings, I'm trying to use something outside of just the Zoom recording, so I'm using another camera, and that takes a while to upload. So I'll usually try to upload the recording before the evening time, and then you'll have pretty much all week. I'll post that on the front page of the Canvas page. It'll be right on there, and you could always click on that and navigate to my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, there's hundreds of videos that I've done over the last 5 years. I have been teaching these types of classes for the last 6 years, mainly at Santa Ana College, but now I'm here at IVC. And then outside of here, I coach track and field and cross country at Long Beach City College. And then I'm trying to run myself. I try to stay active, and I just signed up for an ultra marathon in September in Mammoth. So I'm trying to stay, yeah. So this is very therapeutic type of stretching and mobility that we're going to do here. This is stuff that, to be honest, me personally, if I didn't have this live Zoom session or a class, this is a type of fitness that I wouldn't be doing because sometimes it just seems too slow, too mellow. Like, why am I stretching so much? But at the same time, this is the type of wellness that my body needs. So I don't recover like I did 20 years ago. If I sleep with my toddler on my shoulder, I'm bad all week. So this is a type of movements and stretches that my body wants, but mentally and I think emotionally, sometimes I'm just like not for it, but I know my body needs it. So maybe some of you feel this way, or I think some folks sometimes would rather like a stereotypical fitness session. Sometimes it's to go to the gym or go for a run. And if people hear, oh, like let's go to yoga or let's stretch, they kind of like put it on this other like side of like wellness and fitness that seems a little bit easier, but it's also necessary. And that's kind of what this class will be. Will be stretching all of our joints from our facial muscles down to our toes, our arches, our hips. Every joint that we have, we'll try to come in contact with throughout the class. Not just the joints, but the muscles as well. So if at any time you have any irritation or if we're dealing with arthritis, and there's a movement that we do that causes pain, what I would recommend is just skipping that movement. Maybe just catch your breath if we are ventilating a little bit. But you could just skip it or ask if there's a variation of that stretch or movement that we're doing. And then also sometimes there could be a stretch that just irritates something. So for instance, my right hip usually gets inflamed if I'm doing too many squats. So that's just one of those areas. So I don't know if some of you are dealing with like ankles or something that just feels a little bit off. But like I mentioned, one day you could have terrible sleep and you might not get the most out of this class because your back is a little sore or tight. So just make sure you communicate, because we're not always gonna feel 100% every day. So just follow along, and if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. Feel free to go on the chat and just put that as well. What I usually have my other students do is if there's a request to stretch the hamstrings a little bit more, you could just go on the chat and put, hey, can we spend a little bit more time on my hamstrings or on my hip? And if you do that, then I'll make sure that we spend a little bit more time. Otherwise, I'll just kind of go through kind of like the whole body as a whole unit, and we'll get through everything, but not specifics on 30 minutes on just the legs or something like that. But do we have any questions before we start with the session? So no questions. Alrighty. So if you don't have any questions, then we'll go ahead and begin. So usually how this session I like starting is first on our chair, and then we'll do our stretches on our chair. Then we'll do some movements standing up. When we stand up, I do ask, the only piece of equipment that we need really for this class is a chair. If you have like a broomstick or like a long foam roller, pretty much a long item that we could work for our shoulders, and then a yoga mat. And if you don't have a yoga mat, just something on the floor where you could lay on, so we could do that. So we'll spend, it's 75 minutes that we're here. So we'll probably spend about, I would say about 25 minutes here, maybe about 10 or 15 standing, and the remainder of the class on the floor. And I usually end up with the floor because sometimes I do have students that have a hard time working on the floor. And if that happens to be your case and the floor exercises don't work for you, then sometimes those students, just kind of leave class early. But if you're able to, then I encourage you to stick around for the whole time. And yeah, other than that, feel free to unmute yourselves and chat. If I'm not just guiding through the stretches, I'm usually talking about food. So I love food, and I just start talking and asking people questions about whatever's going on. So all right, so let's go ahead and begin with our facial exercises. So what I'm gonna have you do is just open your mouth as wide as you can. Turn your head upwards while keeping your mouth open. And then now bring your chin towards your nose. So really pull your chin towards your nose. You're gonna feel a nice stretch on that neck. So what we're working on is the muscles and blood flow right there in that neck area. So reset, come back down, open, turn up, and pull. Once you've closed, repeat. We'll do about 8 of these. Okay, so go ahead. And you want to exaggerate that opening of the mouth as far as you can, and then pull with, not casually just close your mouth, but really pull. Let's do one more. Very good. All right, so you could feel that jaw could get a little tender or sore, but we'll move on. And fun fact, that one about during the COVID time, I got into like facial creams to like get rid of my wrinkles. And when I was doing my research, that was one of the exercises that I found for the wrinkles around the neck. So, and it also helps define your jawline a little bit too. So just a little random fact. All right, so let's go ahead and we're just gently gonna palpate our face. So when you hear me say the word palpate, it's just soft touch. So we're gonna bring the soft parts of your fingers, your pointing finger and your middle finger, just from your earlobe down your jawline to your chin. And what we're doing here is just gentle massage on the top layer of the skin. So just promoting a little bit of blood flow to that area. Not a lot of big vessels in that area, just little vessels, but that just promotes, and anytime your fresh blood goes to an area of the skin, it takes nutrients. So we just want to make sure. Let's go from the side of our eyes down the side of our face. Just promote a little bit of blood flow to that area. Just very gentle. Again, welcome everyone. All right, very good. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and inhale about 5 seconds through our nose, and I want you to make a small little windpipe with your lips. So inhale through your nose for about 5 seconds, and then exhale everything you have inside through that little windpipe. So it's going to be pretty forceful. If you have your hands on your torso, your abs, you should feel those get really tight and relax. And again, inhale. Exhale everything you got. Again, repeat. Everything until you can't, almost you're out of breath. It's working on that diaphragm. Hello, welcome back. All right, very good. So that could get tiresome. So again, we want it to be forceful. We don't want it to just be one huge gasp out because that's not really working on our diaphragm, okay? So now let's go ahead. We're gonna puff up our cheeks like a hamster with air, like air bubble, and we're gonna move that air bubble left to right, okay? So puff up your cheeks and just move it left to right. This one makes your cheeks pretty sore really quick, so if you have to release that air and refill, that's fine. And relax a little bit. So you'll notice they become a little tender. Now we're going to do the same thing, but our upper lip and lower lip, okay? So go ahead and do that. All right, very good. All right, let's just palpate our forehead a little bit. Just out here. This is also where you find out if you need lotion. Like I need lotion. I feel my skin a little dry right here. And then just like the soft part of your cheeks. Usually for this one, I like using my knuckles, so I just kind of roll them in. Very good. Awesome. All right, now we are going to start working our way down from our neck, our shoulders to our way down. So we do a lot of stretches on our shoulders. So you'll see me doing alternating a lot between shoulders and something else, shoulders, something else, shoulders, something else. Just because we do shoulders, all the shoulder stretches at once, you're going to be really sore. Okay. So what we're going to start first is just do shoulder circles. So we're going to bring the shoulders up, forward, down, and back. So from the side, it should look like this. Okay, and really exaggerate. So you want to bring those shoulders as high up as you can, as far forward, as far down, and as far back. So everything we do for this class, you want to get the most range of motion, which is going to be, you know, the most that muscle or joint could move. And we want to do it slowly, okay? Because the moment we start doing things really fast and sudden, that's when we could pull something. So we're not trying to get injured here. We're trying to get healthier. All right, now let's go in reverse. Back. I appreciate everyone enrolling. I was pretty nervous for a good like 5 hours about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, the students rallied through, and yeah, I was glad this class did not get canceled. So awesome, appreciate you all. So let's go ahead and do our snow angels. So snow angels, we're just going to bring our arms just here. Yeah, and then I do have a class on Wednesday as well, same time. And then I believe in the fall, I'm getting offered 4 classes. So those don't start until like mid-August though, but I believe enrollment starts soon. And other fall classes that you may be taking as well. So let's do about 2 more. And last one. Very good. All right, now we're gonna look left to right. So gently look left and then right. Now up and down. So go as far down as you can. Your chin hits your chest. Back. Very good. Alrighty. Next, we're gonna go ahead and start implementing our hands to move our neck joint a little bit more. So what I'm gonna want you to do is we're gonna fix our left shoulder by sitting on our left hand. So just tuck that left hand right under your hamstring. So that allows for that arm to just stay fixed with your shoulder and your neck. So now that right hand comes over, grab by your ear, and then allow the weight of your right elbow to just kind of pull on your head a little bit. We don't want this to be too aggressive, but you should feel the stretch along this way. Okay? So just make sure we're leaning. And relax. You're gonna do the other side. So sit on that right hand, come on over, and relax. Yeah, and this is the type of stuff that, you know, if you're pretty active, if you go on walks, if you spend a day at Disneyland and your feet hurt after being there all day, what's the first thing that we do? Probably take off our shoes and massage our feet, maybe ice our feet, stretch. So yeah, but most people tend to do these things reactively. So when we're injured or hurt or something's bothering us, that's usually when we do these stretches. So by us doing these ahead of time, you know, it will prevent those things, those aches from happening. So let's go ahead, both hands, back of our head, and then allow the weight of your two elbows to just drop forward. And relax. Very good. All right, we're gonna continue with the shoulders a little bit, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and place our thumbs. So I'm in this position. I'm just gonna rotate my thumbs towards my shoulders. And from here, I'm gonna press up gently and then down. So this would be considered the mobility portion of this class, or active stretching. So there's static stretching. Static stretching is when you're just holding a stretch for a duration of time without moving. And this would be active stretching here. Okay. All right, now we're gonna turn left. And now instead of just looking left and right, I want you to turn left and apply a little bit of pressure on your right chin. So you're gonna, you know, if you look left, you could only go so far, but if you use your hand, you could add maybe another ½ inch or an inch to your rotation. So let's do that. Very good. All right, now relax. You do that too long, you're gonna irritate this part. So let's look right now and add a little bit of pressure. Add a little bit more. And relax. Very good. All right, again, continue with that shoulder. So we're gonna elevate the shoulder to this L formation here, and we're just gonna drop that forearm down. If you could go a little bit lower than this position, go a little bit lower. And I usually keep my left hand here on my shoulder, because that allows me to kind of tell myself if my shoulder starts sagging. I want to keep it up here, so kind of just lock it into place by keeping my left hand there. So you can just rotate. Let's do one more. Very good. Awesome. All right, now that left arm, bring it up, and again, drop. Is this anyone's first class at Irvine Valley this summer? Most of you are returning. Okay, I see one hand up. All right, it's my first term too, so we're brand new together. I've been with Long Beach I'm going on to year 14 now, and with Santa Ana year 6, I believe. So just relax. So you could see, is anyone's getting a little sore on the shoulders already? So yeah, we do that long enough and it feels like a workout. All right, we're gonna rest the shoulders a little bit because we are gonna use them more. So palms down here, and this is gonna work out our elbow joint a little bit and also our biceps. So just tap that opposite shoulder. So this one's very easy. This one's not too taxing at all. Sometimes the ones that are more taxing are the big movements that just have a small muscle around that area. So like the shoulder, there's a lot of muscle around that whole joint, but that large muscle is made to be used in different directions. So eventually it does get fatigued. All right. And then the bicep muscle is pretty large, so that's not going to get too tired. Now what I want you to do is just flip your palms back behind, and now we're going to come up and down. So this is going to be on your elbow joint and also your triceps, so the back part of your arm. And do a full extension, so come up and then go all the way down. Very good. All right, we're gonna do our upper back a little bit. So the way we're gonna do that is I'm gonna sit near the front of my chair. If I'm back here, it's not gonna work out. So I'm gonna sit near the front of my chair. I wanna separate my feet a little bit from each other. I'm gonna reach up towards the ceiling. I'm gonna keep my back straight, and then I'm gonna come down this way and then pull back. Okay, so you're gonna feel that stretch, almost like a cat scratching a post. From the very top all the way down, and come back. Again, reach, top, down. Reach, reach, reach. Keep that back straight the entire time and come back. Let's do 2 more. Very good. All right, so that's gonna work on our back a little bit. Okay. So next one we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of clench our hands together here, make a fist. We're gonna bring that in front of us. So if you wanna watch this first, we're gonna look down and then punch forward and ducking my head underneath and then coming back, okay? So you're looking down and then punch forward and come back. Down, punch. Good. 3 more. Two, go. And last one. And relax. So, is anyone arms a little tired? Shoulders getting there? Okay, a little bit. All right, you could just give me thumbs up or thumbs down. So, all right, let's go ahead and do our Poliquin lateral raises. A lot of good stretches just follow the same motion of an exercise. So, if you want to stretch a certain body part, you can always just think of a lift that you do at the gym or with your dumbbells, and that's usually a good stretch too. So, this one, elbows at your side, and lift up this way. Okay. So just open up. So it's pretty good because it's your the middle of your back, kind of behind your underarm area, just opening up. Two more. Last one. Very good. All right. Similar motion to what we did here, but now it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. It's going to be elbow at your side and then just here. When the arm is elevated, there's like a strength component to it, so it's making it stronger at the same time because you're supporting that arm up. But right here when it's rested, we're just really worried about the stretch. So, and then you might be able to get a little bit more rotation out this way. Okay, then we'll switch. And then go out. So are all of you reside kind of like in the Irvine and Mission Viejo area? Is there anyone that lives outside of that area? And relax, okay? Very good. Like I live like in LA by Long Beach, so I'm a little bit off the ways, but yeah, with Zoom you could kind of be anywhere right now. All right, this is going to be more of a strengthening movement. So it's called the Stoloff push. So we're going to press our hands together, and then you're going to push forward. Okay, and then come back. Okay, so that's working on your chest, a little bit of your shoulders. So push really hard, and then yeah. So the whole push should take about 5 or 6 seconds. If it's quicker than that, we might be not adding too much force. Okay, so you're almost trying to press your hands against each other and through. Give me 3 more. Oh, Lake Forest, yeah, cool. Have some friends out there. And last one. Awesome. All right, we're gonna work our way down our back. So, all right, Lake Forest. Okay, so yeah, so somewhere in that area between the 405 and the 5 freeway coming together. So, all right, let's go ahead and knees are facing forward. We're gonna use our chair. Use the bottom portion and the back rest. Just gently rotate to your right. All right, let's go a little bit more. Rotate to your right. And relax. All right, we're gonna do the same thing, but now towards our left side. So gently turn. Just hold that static stretch. So this would be a static stretch here, just holding the stretch. And then rotate a little bit more. And relax. Okay. All right. We are about halfway through, not halfway through the class, half an hour in the class. So if you want to grab some water, now's a good time. If you want to drink a little bit of water, I am. I notice when I talk a lot, my mouth gets dry. Trying to go for a run after this class, so I need to hydrate too a little bit. All right. Ooh, yeah, I was out there by Lake Forest not too long ago. I was volunteering and I actually did a training run at Whiting Ranch, I think, that area. But yeah, lots of trails out there. It's really cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and right leg is going to come out. Irvine, yep. Come out. You're going to notice that this knee is going to want to collapse downward. So what I do is just add my hand there, okay? So your torso's upright. We don't want to be slouching here. I know that's more relaxed, but you want to stretch and have this formation while your torso's up, okay? So just add that pressure to your right side. And then come back, reset, and then left leg comes out this way, add a little bit of pressure. And reset here. All right, our next movement is gonna be for our piriformis. So this is actually one of my favorite stretches. So on the piriformis muscle, it's deep within your glutes. It's this little thin muscle, but we want it to be nice and healthy because the sciatic nerve runs right by there. And if that muscle is tight or if it pinches that sciatic nerve, you're gonna have some back pain. You could have pain throughout your entire area. So, and then also for these lower leg ones, I like removing my shoes too, because I will ask you to remove your shoes just so we could work a little bit more fluidly. So I'm going to have my right ankle on my left knee, okay? So yeah, so if we could just get there. And we're just going to, again, right there, just having this position is going to stretch out that piriformis a little bit. So, and yeah, if you need the assistance of your hands to get your ankle there, then so be it. Let's do that. And then we're going to add a little bit of pressure on that knee. So you could just press down or you could just kind of lean on it, relax a little bit. Just push down. All right, now we're gonna bring that knee up. Ankle stays there, and then just kind of hug it or lift it as high as you can. So now you'll feel it right in that area. Is this anyone's second or third class of the day? Okay, see a couple hands. Nice. First one? Okay. This is my third. So, yeah. All right, let's switch. My Mondays and my Wednesdays are my heavy days. So yeah, but this is my last one. So, yeah, with me being at Irvine, this is my first term. Wednesday of last week was my first day, and I ran first, then I did the classes after, and I think by the end of this class on Wednesday, I was done. I think I was asking for a nap. So I'm saving my run for later today. So hopefully that works. That gentle push down on that knee. And yeah, right now we're done with track season. So we start with cross country in about 3 weeks. So in about 3 weeks, I'll start being a little bit more tired as well. I try to run with, let's bring that knee up. I try to run with my runners on the team as well, so they keep me in shape. And relax. All right. So next, we won't spend too much time outside of this time right now on this body part, which is going to be for our hands and our wrists. But we're going to work on this area here now. Okay. So what I want to do is just bring your right hand or your wrist right past your knee. Okay. So I want you to push up with your hand, but your opposite hand is going to push down. So that's going to have tension on your forearm. Okay. So this top hand pushes down, this bottom hand's gonna wanna push up, and just control it. So allow that bottom hand to rise maybe in about 3 or 5 seconds so you get some work here. So let's do 5 of those. So we could do this together. So go ahead and press. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, very good. And that's just to make your forearm a little bit stronger. We don't use it too much, but when it's time to open a jar that's really slightly tight, then we could use that. So now we're gonna go ahead and bring each finger to the center of our palm, and we want to do that individually, and we also want to do it without bending any knuckles. Okay, so there's going to be a tendency your other fingers are going to want to move along, but just bring each finger to the center of your hand without bending the knuckles. Okay. And then you'll notice on your forearm, if you're watching closely, or even place your other hand on your forearm, that there's individual muscles working each individual finger. So, all right, now we're gonna do the same, but now we want each knuckle to move. Okay, so now I'm bringing each finger individually to the center of my hand, bending each knuckle. And this one requires a little bit more focus and engagement, because you'll notice, at least when I try to bend my middle finger, the other 2 fingers around it also try to work with it. So again, just working more on that brain to muscle connectivity with this one. All right, and then just kind of relax a little bit, because that can be tiresome. What I want you to do now is we're going to separate our fingers away from each other. That's going to work on the little tendons in between your fingers. Okay, so just separate them, web them out, and relax. So web them out. And this is an action that I really can't think of why we would be doing this, naturally, but your joints are still capable of doing this movement. And if you don't use it, you definitely lose it. So your joints definitely recognize that. So that's one of the aspects that I've seen, that if you don't move in a certain pattern or direction, your joints will become weak in that area. So, all right, so let's just kind of relax, because your hands could go a little numb, and just some gentle wrist circles, nothing aggressive. We don't want to cause pain. And then just switch directions. And then you could just kind of go up and down. So, all right, now we're going to focus on that left hand. So again, allow that wrist to collapse or go past your knee. And now we're going to do those presses. So hands down, push up for 5 seconds. We'll do 5 repetitions of these. And a lot of these stretches that we're doing right here from the chair, if you have a long, if you're a passenger in a long road trip, this is stuff that you could do There's no excuse not to get healthy at any point now. So if you're in a plane, you can do this. So, all right, let's go with our fingers straight, each individual finger. And I like doing one hand at a time, because if we do them both at the same time, then it gets pretty passive and it's not as intentional. And I feel like when you do it once at a time, you could even get a little aggressive with it and get a nice strength workout out of it. All right, now each knuckle individually. This one's kind of funny because I feel like there's more fingers involved in that left hand. In my less dominant hand, I feel like I want to move one finger and then 4 other fingers or 3 other fingers move. All right, and then let's web out those fingers away from each other. And then let's do those gentle circles with the wrist. Okay, and then up and down. Very good. We start making our way down into our hamstrings and our hips a little bit more. Okay. So what I want to do is just elevate. So using both my hands, I'm going to elevate my right leg. So I'm holding under my hamstring, and I'm going to just, this is a better angle, I'm going to try to swing this leg outside a little bit, as far as I can. So it might just be an inch. It might be more than this here, but I just want to rotate it out. So again, just out here, and just swing it. And again, this is one of those movements where it seems like I don't even know when I do this, but this helps like when your feet are planted and you turn your torso suddenly or your hips suddenly, you won't snap a tendon or hurt your lower back. So this is where this helps in. So, all right, and then rest. Elevate the other leg, and then switch. Very good. All right, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna sit near the front of the chair. I'm gonna lay back, relax a little bit. I'm gonna lift that same leg, that right leg. Now I'm gonna extend that lower leg. Okay, so it's gonna stretch out the hamstring. So the under part or backside of your thigh. And if you could have it as close to your chest as possible, that's probably gonna be the most extreme stretch that we can. All right, let's switch. We're here. All right, now we're gonna do a leg press motion, okay? So the leg press motion, we're still in this position. We're gonna bring our knee in and then out and down. And then kind of just swing it like if it was a bicycle. Okay. So you want some mobility. Two more. Very good. All right, left leg. Bring that up. And then let's extend. We did this already, right? No? Yes? And then let's extend this way. Sometimes I forget if I'm like, did we just do that or did we miss it? That's one of my bad habits. So feel free to interrupt. And I'm also terrible at counting when we're doing push-ups or jumping jacks. Don't take my word for it. That's why I like using times over count sometimes. So instead of saying let's do 10 jumping jacks, I'll say let's do jumping jacks for 30 seconds, and I'll just look at my clock instead. 2 more. Very good. Awesome. All right. We're gonna just sit here and then just some heel raises. This is just gonna stretch out our calf muscles. So we'll do about 15 to 20 of these. And you wanna get your heel as high as possible and then drop them. All right, now your feet flat, and now I want you to raise your toes up. Okay, so now it's your toes' turn. So now your toes go up. Continue, give me about 15 to 20 of those. Just gonna check the chat. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of ankle work. So we're just gonna trace the letters of the alphabet now. So elevate your right foot and just trace the ABCs, okay? So yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I did on that video, but I got my bachelor's in exercise physiology. My goal after college was to go to physical therapy school, and that changed a little bit when I got more involved with the cross country team and track team when I went to Chico State. So then I ended up going in that direction with coaching, and I got my master's in kinesiology with an emphasis in biomechanics of the body. And yeah, so I was coaching, and then I got my master's. I'm gonna switch legs, and my first job my second job after my master's. When I got my master's, my first job was working as a custodian, which I did that for about 3 months. And then my next job after that was I worked at a physical therapy office. So a lot of the stuff that I incorporate, especially for this class, comes from the rehab programs that we had for patients. So yeah, if there's something that that you want to work on, let me know. I might have some extra stretches for it. But yeah, so a lot of this stuff is just it just mimics what someone that hurts their ankle would do, or someone that hurts their hip, or whatever it is. That's what we're doing here. So you could trust a lot of these movements. All right, our next one, we're gonna work on our arches. Okay, so your feet are flat, and what I want you to do is claw at the floor. So with your toes, try to bring your toes towards your heels. So really gripping the floor, and you're gonna feel your arches activating. So you just kind of claw at the floor. So you'll see my toes here just kind of coming in. So about 2 more of those. And if you're flat-footed like me, you really need to do these because I'm flat-footed, and usually what happens with flat feet is the tendons get so loose that there's no arch, but when the feet or the arches get a little bit stronger, then that arch develops. So that's for that. All right, and then so now we want to do the similar motion but without gripping with your toes, if that makes sense. So I'll demonstrate with my hands. So instead of doing this motion with our feet, I want you to do this. Okay, so we still want to do an arch, but your toes kind of stay straight. Okay. And again, this one also requires a little bit more engagement. So, and this one feels like not much is happening, but as long as you feel your arches, getting a little bit shorter, then yeah, you're doing it. All right, very good. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and we can put our chair on this side. We're just gonna rotate it. And what I'm gonna ask you is to find a counter or a wall and have your chair near it. So we're gonna do a little bit of hip mobility. Someone emailed me asking about help with the hip. I don't know if that person's in here, but if you are, hopefully this helps a little bit, but let me know if you're in here. So what I'm gonna do, I have a counter right here. So I have a table. So you could use, depending on your mobility, you could use the backrest or the chair. But what I wanna do is just support myself right here. I don't wanna just be standing doing this one. I wanna support myself. And I'm gonna go this way and then in reverse, okay? If that's too high, then try to use this bottom piece, okay? And then in reverse. So I'm just supporting myself here with a different table. So yeah, so make sure you're leaning on something. Because if we're just kind of floating, then this is gonna turn more into a balance exercise. So we're not focused on that right now. We want more of the mobility. Okay. Once we've done that, we're gonna switch directions, or with the other leg. So switch legs and continue. Very good. All right. We're gonna stretch out our back a little bit. So I'm just gonna support myself here on the chair. Make sure that that chair doesn't move. And I just wanna, pretty much what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stick my hips out behind me and lean towards my head between my arms. And then just kind of come up. Okay, so you should feel that upper back, mid back, depending what area is a little tight. Just gonna go here. Two more. I'm hearing a lot of popping from my shoulders or elbows. All right, very good. And this is an extra credit one that I'll demonstrate. And I only want you to do this one if you're comfortable with it, and also if your chair is not gonna move. So what I like doing here is just placing my foot on my chair, and then I rest here, and I'm just kind of lean forward and then back. Okay. And if you can't reach that backrest, you could just kind of lean on your knee and then just go forward. So you're gonna feel this on your legs a little bit more, on your calf. So this class, I've always thought of it as like a body tune-up for your, like a tune-up for a car, but this is like a tune-up for your body. So this is what I always see these types of classes as. All right, so then we're gonna switch. I think I see most of you doing these, so and just come in. All right. Okay, I think we are done with our chair for today. All right, so if you want to grab a little bit of water, go ahead and do that. I know we spend more time on the chair stretches. Hopefully you like those. We're gonna do some standing stuff, and then we'll probably finish off with some light stuff on the floor. So for our next session next time, I'll make sure we spend a little bit more time on our floor, okay? All right, so let's reach up towards the ceiling. Reach up. Just reach, and then let's lean right. left. Let's do one more right. You take some deep breaths here. The more relaxed you are, the more your body is able to move fluidly. And one more. Ooh. Very good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and just bring that right arm across. Right arm across. Let's go left arm. So we're doing pretty good. Burn about 130 calories from just stretching. So we usually burn about about 100 calories for walking a mile or running a mile. So we're past that right now. All right, we're gonna do trunk rotations. So just gently turn left to right. All right, next one's an ab circle. So I'm sure most of you have done the trunk rotations to stretch. So these ab circles, I want you to keep your hips fixed. So back is nice and straight, and we're gonna hinge at the hip, come here and then cut across, come over and pump back. And then we're gonna go back in that same direction, counter it. Almost like if we're yelling at little kids here. And then we're coming back. Okay. There's a few stretches that I do before I go on my run, especially early in the morning, that I try not to forget, and this is one of them. I just feel like it kind of wakes up my hips and my back together. One more. And the return. Very good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do our giant hula hoops. Okay, so just exactly what that sounds like. Wide stance, and we're just gonna do a huge circle with our hips. Just exaggerate. Like your feet don't move your feet, but it shouldn't be little circles. This isn't gonna do anything. Make sure you go wide. Just try to go as far wide as possible. Oh. Is anyone sweating? Switch. I know the weather's been nice right now, but I feel like a month or two from now, I'm here in my garage. I'm gonna be in the sauna. So this is the other stretch that I do every morning. I do like 5 or 6. And then when I'm rushing and I'm stressing about time and I just go on my run, I usually regret it because then something starts hurting right after that. So I usually try not to do that. Okay, what was I gonna do right now? Let's do our quad stretch. Our quad stretch is gonna require a little bit of balance, but you could always counter that by resting your hand on the counter. But for this one, you might see people sometimes do it by holding their foot. You could really irritate your tendons, so you want to grab right above your ankle for this one. Okay, and pull back. So, if you're not holding on to anything, then you're also working on your balance a little bit. But again, if you want balance work, join my Wednesday class. That one. We have balance and strength there, so. Let's switch. Yeah, balance is all about like surface area and being aware, and if you're flat-footed, you have more surface area. So that's probably the one good thing about having feet like a duck for me, is that I have a little bit more surface area. All right, and relax. All right, this is my go-to for my runs. This is for my hamstrings. So what I'm gonna do here is slide bend at my knees. I'm gonna slide my hands down to my ankles, crouch down, and then from here, I'm gonna pretty much straighten out my legs. And there's always, my knees sound like bubble wrap with this one. So just grab my ankles and extend, stretching my arches, my calves, my hamstrings, my tendons are waking up. Two more. Last one. And rise. Okay. Whew. All right, next one's a deep squat, and this one, do not feel a certain way about your flexibility if you can't do the same motion. Some of my teenagers that are 17, 18 on the team, if I tell them to do a deep squat, which is this right here, they can't do that. Some people, this is it, maybe here, but try to bring your hips as low as you can. Okay, so drop. You could kind of separate your feet. And this, trust me, I didn't get down here in a matter of a weekend. It took probably like 8 months. So I was probably here when I started, and then now my hips are, yeah. These are the benefits of these classes after 6 years. So you could just kind of, I could play with my 4-year-old over here and I'll be fine. And if you're down there, you could just kind of shift left to right. And let's rise. All right, very good. Okay. All right, so let me just check the chat, grab some water. Oh, no worry. I'll see you next time. Who was that? May? All right. Thanks for checking in. Alrighty. So, if you could grab your broomstick, I have my foam roller here. It could be an umbrella. It could be, if you have a towel, it may work, but I prefer something more rigid because you need the rigidness to kind of guide a little bit. So. But yeah, a broomstick, an umbrella, a golf stick, or fishing rod, anything that's longer and rigid for these next stretches, okay? So, all right, so we're here, just holding this, and I'm gonna go up and down. Yeah, there'll be other sessions where we do use a towel though. Whenever I have really tight, wake up with a really tight neck, or irritate something around my shoulders or my neck, I use a towel a lot for some exercises. All right, so this is the shoulders here. So my right hand is gonna push and my left hand is guiding. So I'm gonna focus, this next one we're focusing on our left shoulder, okay? So we're gonna bring that up here, straight to our left side. So we're pretty much here at like 0 degrees, okay? So right hand is pushing, left hand is guiding. Now we're gonna go 30 degrees slightly forward. Okay, so now I'm here. So first I was here, I'll do this from the side, and then now I'm here. Okay, so 30 degrees. Usually you do about 8 to 10 of these. Now 60, I'm gonna switch it up. And again, this is what I'm talking about, using the joints at every angle that they're meant to be used. So if we really had enough time, I'd go 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30, but we'd be here forever. All right, now we want to go 90, okay? So right in front of you. All right, now we're gonna go towards the back. So for this one, if I'm here, left arm starts coming back. Okay, so my right hand is in front of me and it's pushing towards behind me. Very good. All right,